The woman's eyes snapped open. Even through the chaos, her gaze locked onto his, sharp and startlingly clear. Sirens wailed closer, red and blue light slicing through the smoke. Daniel tried to step back, suddenly aware of how he must look: soot-streaked face, torn gloves, the smell of chemicals and fire clinging to him. He lifted his hands as if to say he hadn't meant to intrude on anything, that he was just a janitor who'd run toward the wrong kind of noise. She caught his sleeve with surprising strength. "Don't let go," she said, her voice hoarse but commanding, the kind of voice people obeyed without realizing why. Daniel froze. A paramedic tried to pry her fingers loose, but she shook her head, eyes never leaving Daniel's face. "You pulled me out," she said, not asking. "What's your name?" "Daniel," he managed. His mouth felt dry. He'd expected confusion, maybe panic. He hadn't expected certainty. "Daniel," she repeated, as if filing it away somewhere important. "Thank you for choosing me." The words hit him harder than the heat had. Choosing me. As if he'd weighed options in that split second, as if there had been time to choose anything at all. He hadn't been a hero making a noble calculation, he'd just moved. He tried to explain, but the paramedics were already lifting her, guiding oxygen over her mouth. She squeezed his sleeve once more, then let go. They loaded her into the ambulance. The doors slammed. The siren rose and vanished into the night. Daniel stood alone, the adrenaline draining from his body, leaving behind a bone-deep tremor. A security supervisor rushed over, talking fast, asking questions. Daniel answered as best he could, his thoughts drifting to Sophia, her crooked ponytail, the way she pretended not to wait by the window when he was late. He checked his phone. 3 missed calls from his sister. Guilt twisted in his chest. By the time the fire was out and the police finished taking statements, it was nearly dawn. Daniel washed his hands in a utility sink, watching black water spiral away, revealing raw red skin beneath. He signed a form, declined a ride home, and walked the few miles to his sister's place as the city woke around him. Vendors lifted metal shutters. Buses hissed to stops. Life resumed as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Sophia ran to him when he opened the door, burying her face in his jacket. "You're late," she said, then pulled back and stared. "Pupper, you smell funny." He laughed softly, the sound cracking. "Work got exciting," he said, and kissed the top of her head. He didn't tell her about the fire. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The next day blurred into routine: school drop-off, a nap stolen on the couch, a return to the building for another shift. The burnt-out car was gone, scrubbed from the ramp as if it had never existed. Daniel pushed his cart, replaying the woman's voice in his head. "Thank you for choosing me." He wondered if she'd be okay. He wondered who she was. He found out a week later, when his supervisor called him into the office with a nervous smile. 2 men in tailored suits stood when Daniel entered. They looked out of place against the peeling paint and humming fluorescent light. "Mr. Reyes," one said, extending a hand. "I'm from Hawthorne Group." Daniel shook it, confused. He'd heard the name, everyone had. Hawthorne Group owned half the skyline. Hotels, tech campuses, charitable foundations. The other man slid a tablet across the desk. On the screen was a photo of the woman from the car, now polished and composed, dark hair smooth, eyes sharp in a way that made headlines sound smaller than she was. "Evelyn Hawthorne," the man said. "Our CEO." Daniel sat down slowly. The room felt too small. The memory of her blooded hairline collided with the immaculate image on the screen. CEO. The word echoed. He thought of his scuffed boots, his paycheck stretched thin, the careful math of groceries versus rent. "She's recovering well," the first man continued. "She asked us to find you. Specifically you." "Why?" Daniel asked. He didn't trust his voice to do more than that. "She'd like to thank you in person." Daniel laughed once, a reflex. "She already did." The men exchanged a glance. "She insists." That evening, Daniel borrowed his sister's car and drove to the address they gave him. The building rose like a quiet monument, glass catching the sunset. A receptionist escorted him upstairs to a private suite that felt more like a living room than an office. Evelyn Hawthorne stood by the window. She turned when he entered, and for a heartbeat Daniel saw the woman from the flames again, the same eyes, the same steadiness, before the polished executive's smile settled into place. "Daniel," she said, and crossed the room with a slight limp. "You came." "You asked," he replied. She gestured for him to sit. "I don't usually ask," she said. "I'm told that's a floor." He shrugged. "Seems to work for you." Her smile widened, then softened. "I don't remember much from the crash," she said. "But I remember your face. And I remember thinking, very clearly, that if you let go, I would die." Daniel swallowed. "I wouldn't have." "You could have," she said gently. "No one would have blamed you. The fire was bad. The car could have exploded. You had every reason to save yourself." He shook his head. "I have a daughter," he said, surprised at himself. "I want her to grow up in a world where people don't walk away." Evelyn studied him, something unguarded flickering across her features. "That's exactly why I wanted to meet you," she said. "Not to repay you, no amount of money could touch what you did, but to understand you." "I'm not complicated," Daniel said. "I clean floors. I pick up my kid. I go home." She laughed quietly. "You ran into fire," she said. "That complicates things." They talked longer than Daniel expected. About Sophia, about the night shift, about Evelyn's childhood moving between cities and expectations. She listened in a way that made him forget the glass walls, the power imbalance, the gulf between their lives. When he finally stood to leave, she walked him to the door. "I meant what I said," she told him. "Thank you for choosing me." Daniel met her eyes. "I didn't choose you," he said softly. "I chose to act." She nodded, as if that mattered even more. When he stepped back into the evening air, Daniel felt lighter and heavier all at once. He didn't know what this meeting would mean, or if it would mean anything at all beyond a strange story he might one day tell. But as he drove home, thinking of Sophia's laugh and the way the city hummed on, he realized something had shifted. Not in his circumstances, those would take time, but in the quiet knowledge that, for one burning moment, he had been exactly where he needed to be.